Hi, I'm Sophie Grace, and welcome back for Chapter 7 of Kristy's Great Idea, the first book of the Babysitters Club by Ann M. Martin. If you haven't seen the previous chapters, I've just posted them, and I will be posting a chapter a day for the next few days. So, like usual, get comfortable, get a snack, and let's begin. On Wednesday afternoon, I was all set for my first job through the Babysitters Club. I couldn't wait to meet Pinky and Buffy. I'd never sat for twins before. I wondered what it could be like. Would they play tricks on me? And what could Pinky and Buffy be nicknames for? I'd find out soon enough. I walked over to Quentin Court right after I got home from school. I left a little early just in case I had any trouble finding the McKeever's house. Mrs. McKeever said that the address was 52 Quentin Court, so I followed the side of the street with the even-numbered addresses on it and started walking. There was 22 Quentin Court, 28 Quentin Court, 34, 40, 46, and soon enough, there was number 52. I stood and looked at the house for a moment. It was perfectly nice, split level, painted white, with neat black shutters, but something was wrong. What was it? After a moment, it came to me. There were no signs of children. There was no toys in the yard or tricycles in the driveway, no sneakers on the front stoop or artwork in the windows. I hoped Pinky and Buffy weren't going to be boring children who wanted to spend the afternoon learning about butterflies or food groups or something. My enthusiasm was beginning to wane, just a little, but I took a deep breath and marched myself straight to the front door. Ding dong. Silence. No running feet or shouts like I would hear when I rang the Newton's bell. After a few moments, the door was opened. A plump, pleasant-looking young woman stood on the other side of the screen, smiling. Well, I thought at least Pinky and Buffy's mother didn't look so boring. "Hello?" she said. "Hi, I'm Kristy Thomas. I'm here to babysit for Pinky and Buffy, the twins." There was a pause, and then the woman said, "Yes, would you come in?" I stepped inside to a very pretty room, but again, something seemed wrong. It took me a moment to figure out what it was. Then I realized. Pinky and Buffy must not have been very boring 3-year-olds, but very careful 3-year-olds. The reason the room was so pretty was because it was full of glass and china, big oriental vases, little glass statues, even plates that were displayed on delicate stands. Everything was breakable. In our house, with that Dave and Michael and footballs and baseballs and friends coming over all the time, breakable stuff was practically illegal. Then I saw that the area we were standing in, the foyer and the living room, was blocked off with baby gates. That explained the china, but it didn't seem to be very nice to Pinky and Buffy. It also occurred to me that I couldn't hear any children's voices or giggling. Suddenly, I began to feel very suspicious. What had I gotten myself into? The McKeevers were strangers to me. Maybe I'd been lured into... No. That was silly. At breakfast this morning, when I had told my mother where I would be after school, she just raised an eyebrow. She hadn't said, "Don't go, Kristy, we'll never see you again." I smiled brightly at the woman. So, I said, "Where are Pinky and Buffy?" "Oh, they're in the laundry room," she replied. The laundry room? Were they being punished? I'd gotten angry with David Michael a few times, but I'd never stuck him in the laundry room. "Let me introduce myself," the woman went on. "I'm Miss Hargreaves, Mrs. McKeever's niece. Mrs. McKeever is away for several days, which is why we need help with Pinky and Buffy. I have an important appointment this afternoon, and we find that we need someone with Pinky and Buffy at all times." Well, if they were only 3, what did she expect? "They're a bit unruly," said Miss Hargreaves. "Oh," I said knowingly, wondering where the signs of unruliness were in the quiet house. "Well, that's okay. I know all about unruly. I've got 3 brothers." "Do you?" I nodded. "Well, let's go let them out of the laundry room. They're probably ready to play. Maybe we could take them on a walk to the brook." "That would be lovely," replied Miss Hargreaves, "but it might be difficult for you to manage." "Oh, I've had lots of experience." "That's fine then. Are Pinky and Buffy boys or girls?" I asked. "Well, it doesn't matter much, of course." "It doesn't? But Buffy's a boy and Pinky's a girl." "Oh, that's easy to remember," I said. I was trying to sound pleasant, but I already had a very bad case of the creeps. "Here we are," Miss Hargreaves announced. We were standing by a door to the kitchen. Now, "Get ready. These two monsters of my aunts will practically break the door down," she said affectionately. My eyes opened wide. "They will?" "Stand back." I stood back. I wished I could stand back all the way at my house. But Miss Hargreaves opened the door. Two huge, fluffy, drooling, barking St. Bernards hurled themselves into the hall, almost knocking over each other and Miss Hargreaves. I shrieked. "Do I have to take care of them too?" "Two," repeated Miss Hargreaves. "Who else is going to help you?" "No, I mean, do I have to watch them plus Pinky and Buffy?" "Oh, my dear, these are Pinky and Buffy." But, I sputtered, "I'm a babysitter, not a dog sitter." Miss Hargreaves looked confused. "I don't know what arrangements my aunt made," she said at last, "but here are the dogs, and here are you, and I have to leave." But, "Oh, it's not so difficult," she went on. "They need to be outside as much as possible. Our yard isn't fenced in, so you either have to take them out on their leashes or stay with them in the backyard. If you play with them, they won't run away. Now, their footballs are in the box by the back door. Their leashes are hanging on the peg above, and at 4:30 they need their chow, a can apiece. And they can each have one mailman cookie as a treat. The emergency numbers are posted by the phone in the kitchen, just in case. Do you have any questions?" I shook my head, dazedly. Pinky and Buffy leaped around, galloping after Mrs. Hargreaves as she put on her coat and went out to meet the cab that she had to pick her up. Shaking, I let the dogs out into the backyard, remembering to bring the footballs. I tossed the red football gingerly towards them as they ran ahead of me. I wasn't sure what they'd do with it. Louie usually runs half-heartedly after a football and then sort of forgets to fetch it. Not those two. They dove for the ball, crashing into each other. One of them got away from the other, but I couldn't tell which it was. They looked identical. I got down on my knees and clapped my hands. "Okay, boy, bring it here," I called, not caring whether it was Pinky or Buffy. Whichever one it was came barreling straight towards me. I knew that game all right. Louie likes to do it too. He runs for you and then turns at the last second and veers around you. You could almost see him grinning. But not this dog. He ran right over me. I was lost in a whirl of fur and claws and playful woofs. You really haven't lived until a dog has stepped directly on your face. I sat up and rubbed my cheeks and eyes. Nothing seemed to be bleeding, so I stood up shakingly. I looked around. Oh no, the dogs are gone. I thought Miss Hargreaves said that they would stay in the yard with me. Maybe they didn't stay in the yard with people they'd practically knocked unconscious. "Pinky," I shouted. "Buffy!" Nothing. "Pinky! Buffy!" I ran to the front of the house. No dogs. I looked up and down the street. No dogs. I ran to the backyard and looked again, and there they were, but not in the McKeever's yard, but the yard next door. They were racing towards me, heading for the clothesline. "Pinky! Buffy, no!" Too late. They streaked through all the clothes and came to a screeching halt about 2 feet from me. One was wearing a small blanket draped over her tail, and the other had a slip in his or her mouth. "Bad dogs," I cried. "Sit! Sit!" I took the blanket and the slip from them and glanced nervously at the house next door. It seemed pretty quiet. Maybe no one was home. Thank goodness the clothesline seemed okay, except for the missing blanket and slip. I wanted to return the things, but what about Pinky and Buffy? If I went into the other yard, would they follow me? Would they run away? I didn't know what to do. I almost didn't care. But just then, a car pulled into the driveway of the house. Luckily, the driveway was on the other side of the house from where I was, but I knew I'd better do something fast. Someone could come out at any moment to bring in the laundry. "Okay, you guys," I said to the dog. "Look, here are your footballs." I began walking slowly backwards towards the clothing line. The dogs crept after me as if they were stalking the balls. I reached for the clothesline. The dogs were still following me. "Come on," I whispered. I held the balls under one arm, pinned the blanket and the slip crookedly to the line, and then raced back to the McKeever's yard at top speed. The dogs ran after me. They liked the game. Good for them. They could follow me all the way into the house, which is just what they did, and where I wanted them. They stayed inside for the rest of the afternoon, since I didn't trust the dogs outside anymore, even on their leashes. I watched TV. The dogs chewed on their footballs. Anytime they started getting rowdy, I just held the door open to the laundry room and they immediately calmed down. By the time Miss Hargreaves returned, I had decided something important. The members of the Babysitters Club should keep a notebook. Each time one of us finished a job, we should write up in the notebook and the others should read about it. That way we could learn from each other's experiences. With a little luck, we wouldn't make any mistake more than once. For instance, no more dog sitting. I ran home, eager to start the notebook. My first Babysitters Club job was over. Thank you so much for tuning in for Chapter 7 of Kristy's Great Idea. Come back tomorrow for Chapter 8.